You know what I like to do? I love to read books, especially about guitars. But today isn't a day to be reading books about guitars. Today's a day to be talking about our businesses. I'm sitting here with Daniel Job from our office. My partner Don is at home doing tax returns like he should be doing. And we want to talk about some of the business provisions that have come out, some of the subsidies for businesses that the government has provided in the last few days. Because we know that cash flow is king, and we know that you guys are making these really tough decisions about payroll and rent and mortgages and things of that nature. So Daniel's going to spend a fair amount of time talking about the different subsidies and different loan programs that have been provided by our federal government. So let's get right into it. Daniel, tell me a little bit about what's going on, what has changed in the last couple days.
You know, Alan, it's been crazy because up till this point we had two uncertainties. One uncertainty that's still there is, when is this thing going to be over?
Right.
So our businesses are calling saying, what should I do with my employees? Should I go borrow money? The business practice and the decisions you make are as vital now as they were a month ago.
Right.
But face it, business is different now. It's all going to be different.
Yeah, it is.
But the other thing about it is the second one was, everybody's like, is the government going to help? Guess what? We can now tell you that as of Friday, we got some assistance from the government.
Finally.
And there's a lot of pieces of it.
Right.
But it's still, you have to still step away from it and say, what's best for me and my business? Because you got to be careful, Alan. As you know, if you go get a loan that's repayable, and there are some loans out there that are forgivable.
Yes.
But if you get a loan that's repayable, and all of a sudden something happens with your business where you can't pay it, well, now you're on the hook for that.
Right, exactly.
And I'm talking to a lot of clients that are saying, I don't know if I should borrow money. So
best practices still prevail.
Best practices absolutely prevail.
We still need to have our clients make the right decisions about keeping people employed versus furloughing them or laying them off. But they need to be aware that there are incentives, if I'm understanding it correctly, that if they keep people employed, that they can get loans, and some of those loans, as you alluded to, are possibly forgivable.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And back on March 18th, there was the First Families Act, I believe. I'm kind of a little short, that passed, and that even offers some opportunities, which, you know, I don't know if we've read that thing 40 times, and do we still really understand what it says?
It's very complicated.
You know, the crazy thing is, Alan, we're all professionals are reading the laws at the same time as they come out. So that's why we're putting so much information on our website, because as we get good, clear details, we want to put them up there for you. So keep checking FKCo.com as we get resources.
Daniel's done a really good job of making sure that people who go to our website can read about all the things that he's about to speak upon, and as well as whether the states have complied also with some of the federal changes. So.
Yeah, so let's get to it, because the CARES Act that passed on Friday,
yeah.
It's 800 pages.
And you brought all 800.
I didn't, and I haven't read all 800 yet. I actually tried to pay one of my kids to read it, but they wouldn't even do it.
I tried reading it last night. I fell asleep immediately. It was awesome.
But let's hit you with some hits. So first of all, there's more details below in this newsletter, and also that you're going to find a resource on our website. But from a standpoint of what's out there for you, here's 3 new things that you should read about. Again, a lot of details aren't there. There's a new payroll tax credit that you can get, and it's if your business has been hampered. Read below for more details. There's also a delay of employer taxes.
Right.
So if you're keeping your people on payroll and you could use that cash flow, the government's saying, great, you keep the cash flow for the employer portion of Social Security and Medicare.
So you'll eventually will owe it.
Yeah.
But they're right.
Caution.
Okay. But you can use that money in the interim to basically keep your business running, knowing that eventually you're going to have to make that payment.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? One of the big ones were in this bill, they finally fixed some of the things that the TCJA from 2018 didn't have. So now we can do leasehold improvements as 15-year qualified property.
Wow. We have a lot of real estate clients who are asking about that.
We've been waiting for that for the last 2 years. And also they've made it to where for some of our clients that have a business interest deduction, there was a limit on how much interest they take.
Those are for some of the larger clients.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If your invoices are over $25 million and you have a limit for that.
Got it.
Again, a lot of those details below, and we're going to be reaching out to you as we get clarification on how to amend those returns. We can go back and amend the return for 19.
So amending returns is not necessarily a bad thing. It means that new laws come out, we can go back, amend the return, and get money paid back into your pockets.
That's what we're hoping for.
Awesome.
But you know what? As much as you'd love to hear about taxes, you're not here for the taxes. You're here about the money. So let's talk about the new money that came out in the CARES Act, and they're effectively calling it the Payroll Protection Program.
Nice.
Why do you think they're calling it that, Alan?
Because they want to keep people employed.
Yeah. That's really what it is. And here's where it really comes down to a hard point when we're talking about it is The cost of running your operation, for most of you, the main cost is your payroll costs.
Right.
So the one thing you can control is you can cut your payroll.
Right.
There are opportunities out there. There's other payroll tax credits. There are unemployment benefits have been bolstered to help with this.
Right.
But the purpose of this act was to say, let's try to get small businesses to keep people employed.
Exactly.
So again, a lot of the details below.
And that's not to say that if you're a business owner, if you're a music retailer, for example, and you know you can't make payroll for whatever reason this week, you may be forced to just lay people off or to furlough people. But clearly, if you can squeak by and keep people employed, these provisions will give you benefits.
Yeah.
To borrow money and possibly not have to repay it back.
Right. It's exactly right. Because you know what we don't know? We don't know the application process yet.
Yeah.
We don't know when the application will be ready. We don't know when the money will be ready.
Right.
We could be talking a week, 2 weeks,
right,
until you get funding. So again, we'll keep giving you information as soon as it comes out. FKCo.com.
One of the things I heard, Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, is that while your knee-jerk reaction as a client of our firm would be to call us and say, all right, how do I apply for this? We're understanding now that the banks are set up to be able to handle the bulk of this application process and to get the money into the hands of our clients.
Yeah, part of this bill, that again we've read, says that they relaxed it. It's still being administered by the Small Business Administration, so the SBA.
Right.
But it's not only SBA banks that have to get this loan to happen. So first thing I would do Monday morning, right now, pause this video, call your banker, ask them to let you know when the application is going to be ready.
Exactly.
Because we're seeing this thing in two phases, Alan. Phase one is, this is a way, you heard Alan a while ago, cash is king.
Yeah.
This is accessibility to cash. It's based upon some payroll criteria. Again, all those details below. But if you can get access to cash and even put this money in a savings account,
even if you don't need it.
Even if you don't need it.
Because you don't know. We don't know how long we're going to languish in this odd era of COVID-19 and what effect it's going to have.
Right. So get the availability of cash. That's phase one.
Right.
We can't do a lot with that because that's with a bank.
Right.
If you need copies of your tax returns, we're going to have details out on that as soon as we know what you need to get to apply.
Right.
We just don't know those details.
Right.
But then phase two is going to be this forgivable piece. Alan's dropped it a couple of times. You've heard it on the news. There's going
to me, it sounds like free money.
It does sound like, and everybody calls me and says, "Is this too good to be true?" We don't know.
Yeah.
But if you read the rules, it says that if you spend the money in certain areas, that there's a piece of it that could be forgivable, but there's a caveat to that. And the caveat is you have to keep your personnel metrics in quantity of full-time equivalent employees, as well as how much you were paying them. You can't drop them below a certain percentage.
So they look at I was reading, it was about a pre-COVID-19 period of time, which is either in early 2020 or you have the choice. You can actually go back to 2019, look at your payroll there, or at the beginning of 2020, and then compare it to your payroll now. And it seems to me like the higher your payroll, or to say it a different way, the more people that are still employed, the better your chances of getting any borrowings you take forgiven at some later point in time. Right,
and there's clear classifications on how you spend that money, how you track it, what you're going to report. Again, the details aren't out yet. But they're saying you're going to have to report this to be forgiven.
So I had a lot of clients, I know you did too, call us up last week, which almost seems like old news now, and say, the SBA has a loan program. I want to immediately apply for those loans from the SBA. And we were trying to tell everybody, hey, we're hearing rumblings of other programs coming out. Hold off a little bit. Now I understand, or I'm starting to understand a little bit more, why they should hold off. Because now under the CARES Act, am I right? We are now getting these subsidies that could be forgiven, but only if you didn't apply for SBA loans.
It does say in the language that if you have a pending SBA loan that you may be disqualified for this. Again, I've talked to clients that have said, well, what if I stop the other one? What if I don't accept the money? Those details just aren't out there.
What if you laid people off and you just had to do it over the last week or two, but now you realize, gee, I can get some subsidies if I maintain payroll. Can we go hire those people back? Okay.
Yeah, if you look below, it says that that's part of the provision. Again, we hate to sound like a broken record, but there's a lot of clarifications that are coming. In fact, the language says that a lot of clarification will be out in the next 30 days.
Wow.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
30 days.
30 days seems like a year.
So I think you're making the decisions that are best for you at the time. But phase one is, if you guys feel like this is a good opportunity, we would encourage you now, don't call us, call your banker. Get signed up with your banker. Because phase two, once we get you guys all settled and we're trying to give you this information, as many details as possible, we're going to start working on phase two. What's phase two? What qualifies for forgiveness? Because we're thinking we're going to have to give you instructions on how you track it, how you set it up in your general ledger system. They're asking for payroll tax records to get it forgiven, not right now, but to get it forgiven. They're asking for copies of checks for when you write utilities and different, and then they want an affidavit by the owner that says that I used this in good faith to keep people hired.
Yeah, got it.
So there's going to be criteria to this. So if that doesn't sound interesting to you, maybe this isn't the right vehicle for you.
Right.
But for those that may be interested, this is something that we're reading could be out there. So, again, we go back to what now? What now is that it's time to get moving with this.
Yeah.
Don't call us. If you need copies of tax returns or something like that, email us. We'll get you copies of tax returns. But, Alan, if you don't mind, I want to leave this on a positive note, and that is
I would love that, Daniel.
In every time of turmoil, there's always opportunity.
Right.
We have the opportunity on what we choose, on how we handle our employees, and sometimes we have to do just what we can do and what we. But if you have the ability to find some brain space on a daily basis to say, what's my business going to look like 30 days from now?
Right.
And let's talk about if this thing ends in 30 days, what's it going to look like? Because I'm talking to people that are saying, well, typically this time of year, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. Well, guess what? That's not happening this year. Schools aren't in session.
Yeah.
Everything's a little different.
Right.
So if you just say, I'm going to wait and go back to the way I did business on March 1st, I'm afraid you're going to miss some opportunity.
Yeah.
So don't forget about your customers. Don't forget about reinventing yourself. Don't forget about preparing yourself to handle that, because there is going to be opportunity. And at least it'll do you one thing. It'll give you a chance to not have to focus on all the bad that's coming with COVID-19, but try to do what you can to keep your business alive. We've talked to you. One last thing. Many of you tell us you care about your employees. We get it. We really do. This is what's making these decisions hard. But we're hoping this CARES Act will give you something, and maybe you can have those employees who are now being paid work on helping you for the other side.
Exactly. I mean, we always talk about, gee, I wish I had time to do this, or just wish I had time to do that. The time is now. Yeah. Now we have those times. And Daniel's right. We are starting to see opportunities come about, and getting ready for what's on the other side. So my son keeps telling me, as soon as this thing's over, there's a big party. Everybody's going to be out playing music. Everybody's going to be out drinking, going to restaurants. And I hope that's all true, so that we get back to a more normal way of life. But those things will all hopefully bring our business back up, and maybe even greater. So I hope that's true, and we got to get ready for that. Let's think positively. We're in this together. Even our accounting firm is in the same boat as all of our clients. So understand that we're all facing these same decisions together. But I want to thank this guy so much for doing so much to help our clients and get the information out. I want to leave this on a positive note. We are all in this together, and we know you're worried, and we know you have a lot of questions. Keep going to our website. Check any communications that we send to you, whether it be via email or constant contact messages or any kind of communication. We're taking the time to make sure you have the latest and greatest and most important information to help your businesses get through this. Daniel, is there anything you want to add?
No, that's it.
Okay.
We care about you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, we do. We value you. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Stay positive and stay healthy. See you real soon.